Hey guys, it's Colby Lawson here. Today back at it again with another goated reaction. Today
Jer-
we have today justice has finally came. God, as always, is good. You know, I think we can. I think you know what goes around does come around. You know, in a manner of speaking. This is probably the best ruling, the best decision that has ever been made. You know, one of the best decisions. So if you haven't already figured, if for those of you who don't know, Carmelo Anthony was recently found guilty of murder in the first degree. Um, he stabbed an innocent white kid, at a during a 2025 track meet. you know, and stabbed him multiple times. And he was holding a knife the whole time. He was just concealing it. And people were saying that it was self defense. The typical idiots, the typical folks who outright support violent crime, you know, if you if you fit certain criteria. Um and they did not like they they even went as far as to call the whole situation racist and tried to pull the racism card because I guess a black teen murdering a white teen you know is somehow and being held accountable for that is somehow racist. Like, can someone please make any sense can someone please make sense of that, because I don't think I can. When you commit a violent crime, uh, you get punished. Well, you should. At least you should. I mean, hopefully he gets a life sentence and never gets out. No parole, no good behavior, nothing. Not even community service. Nope. He just sits there in his cell, you know, you know, uh, letting the consequences of his actions roll on in. Fully having to come to terms with what he did. You don't just murder someone and get away with it. Nope, nope, nope. Even in the Bible, it's very clear. God made it clear that your actions have consequences. And boy, did this teen, he met his consequences full on. Well, they're just beginning anyway. So yeah, he was found guilty of murder in the first degree. In the first degree, uh, because he stabbed an innocent white dude to death and tried to claim self defense. Yeah, you don't just you don't just conceal a knife and then stab some innocent dude to death with it and then claim self defense. That's not how self defense works. Self defense is to ensure that you can at least you can protect yourself from any harm come you know from any human being that wants to do horrible things to you, even if it means killing you, even killing you. It's to be able to protect yourself. And you know apparently somehow some reason people think self-defense is concealing a knife and murdering an innocent person. Well, that's what murder is, the killing of an innocent person and killing an innocent person. And somehow that's self-defense. I don't understand how that is, but knowing these clowns, of course they have of course knowing these clowns, of course they have a backwards view of how reality works. And it's honestly hilarious. I mean, the dude, Carmelo Anthony had it coming. It's like the Black Lives Matter bullcrap. You know, How George Floyd died, saying he can't breathe, and then a bunch of folks started acting like wild animals. They know who they are. It just burning buildings and all that garbage, stuff that you would outright see, stuff that you would typically find in some sort of, you know, in some sort of movie where crazy stuff happens. Um, Rambo 4 comes to mind. I mean, it's not exactly apocalyptic, but you would think that there's something out of Mad Max, a much more earlier take on Mad Max or something, without the cars and stuff, without the every man for himself kind of thing. You know, it's like one of those Hollywood movies where there's some sort of friggin' apocalypse, and it's like, the apocalypse starts by something happening, and then people just start going wild. Usually because someone dies, and that's exactly what they're waiting for. It the whole George Floyd thing is just stupid. Like, and Black Lives Matter was even dumber. It's a whole goddamn scam, and it did nothing for any black folks out there. It did nothing. The only thing it did was make people money, or at least the founders of it money. That's all it did, and it certainly didn't bring Martin Luther King back. No, if anything, it just made him roll over in his goddamn grave. You know, I thought I'd never see the day where people would end up being this horrible, all because a criminal gets the consequences of their actions. You know, you can't be this out of touch with life, man. Like that's how things work. When you do something bad, there are consequences to it. When you do something good, there are consequences to it. Sometimes good deeds go punished, except not always, and not for long. You know, um, and sometimes, well, most of the time, a good deed goes a long way. However, sometimes it just bites you in the rear, but eventually you get something out of it because you did the right thing. That's all that really matters. Here, though, you know, Carmelo Anthony was found guilty of first-degree murder because it was very clear that it was very clear that he this wasn't a self-defense case at all. Because if it was self-defense, why would you be concealing a knife and stab someone to death repeatedly? Now, obviously, now granted, if the dude was actually any threat, say he had a gun, he was holding someone at gunpoint, whatever, or he was threatening, he was that dangerous, that threatening. I guess you could, poke him a few times, maybe just stab him to death. I guess, because you're more focused on protecting an innocent person, the life of an innocent person, even yourself, than actually caring about what happens to the criminal, the monster that you're stabbing. Except that wasn't the case. This was a clear cut murder. Okay? The dude did not do anything wrong to deserve being stabbed to death several times. Well, to be being stabbed to death. And I don't want to hear about his skin color because that's obviously the only goddamn reason he was murdered. And just because someone is like white doesn't mean you have the right to murder them. That's not how that works. I mean, whether his actions were racially motivated or not, I'm not sure. But I mean, honestly, that's what I'm gonna assume because I don't see any other reason you'd be doing this unless you're just doing it for the heck of it. And the fact that people actually think that he should not be punished for this is wild. Like, I mean, if this happened to someone I'm pretty sure you'd be demanding that the person who killed someone, the criminal who murdered someone you knew, to get a life sentence, or something, at least something brutal, probably. You know, it's so weird how people. It's really weird. But then again, those people are really they're just evil. They're basically demons. And even if they're not demons, they're just evil. They are simply evil. You know, those people do not care about other black people. They don't. They eat each other alive. We've seen that before. you know, these people are just laughable. They're laughable morons. They're clowns. And the fact that they'll still stand by a murderer is crazy. I mean, I know there are kids, little girls even, teen girls, that for some weird, sick reason, admire serial killers and serial rapists. I mean, that's disturbing. Something seriously wrong with your kid if they're something seriously wrong with your daughter if they're admiring a serial killer and a serial rapist. You got to get your daughter some help because that's not normal. I'm sorry, that is abnormal. That's the kind of stuff, that's the kind of abnormal where you either put the abnormal person down for their own good, or at the very least you put them in an asylum, you know, in the event they decide to do something they shouldn't. You know, and I don't mean to say that because I know, some kids are just stupid. Kids can be just stupid sometimes, but that's like, I'm sorry, nah, that kid would be, I'd be putting, if I had a daughter, I'd be putting her up for adoption the minute she even thought about, admiring a serial killer and a serial rapist. Nope, nope, adoption. Nope, I don't even want to know. Nope. That's a mental illness. Well, that goes beyond mental illness. That's pure evil. I'm sorry, bro, but you gotta go. You gotta go. Daddy can't have no child admiring a monster in his house. Sorry, Daddy not taking that. Daddy not tolerating that. All jokes aside, this whole situation, is crazy. I don't understand why you know getting why a monster, a murderer getting punished for murder is a bad thing. But then again, we know how the kinds of folks that defend this dude, we know what they are. We know what they are and how they are. They're animals. They're no, that's an insult to animals, even though we are animals. Humans are animals, biologically and stuff. You know what I mean. But they're way beyond that at this point. They're just straight up evil. They're not even human. I don't even understand how they can be human. But then again, you know, Sodom and Gomorrah was a thing, and look what happened. Yeah, those people, they are monsters. Look, if you support Carmelo Anthony, you need you need psychological help. You need help. You know, you really do. Something is seriously wrong with you. There's like a screw loose in you somewhere, and you need to tighten it. You need to have it fixed. You need to have it checked out. You know, I genuinely think that those people are just straight up evil. But I don't want to delay this juicy video by actual Justice Warrior, so without further ado, let's get into it.
Jury has returned a guilty verdict, murder, against the teen charged with the fatal stabbing of another athlete at a high school track meet in 2025. Karmelo Anthony was 17 when he was charged with the murder in the death of Austin Metcalf. Anthony's defense team insisted the stabbing was a case of self-defense following a confrontation between the two teens inside a team tent when it was raining at the track meet. Texas prosecutors called it murder, plain and simple.
Pretty much.
The jury was allowed to consider a lesser charge of manslaughter. They took about 3 hours to deliberate and did return that guilty verdict for murder.
So I just shot a video for you guys, edited it, and published it under the premise that the jury was out, but they could come in at any moment. And the whole point of that video was to lay out the case that Carmelo Anthony's defense had no case, and not even a little bit, and that at any moment in time, the jury could come in because it's so open and shut and find him guilty of murder. Well, I'm happy to say the wait is over. Carmelo Anthony is in fact guilty of murder, and right now, at the time that I'm recording this video, we are awaiting sentencing, but yeah, this is the obvious case. This was the
So he
obvious
hasn't gotten
conclusion,
a life
because
sentence yet.
at trial, it was shown that all those narratives, all those false allegations of the Metcalf boys being the aggressors,
false allegations and not facts,
were in fact complete.
Oh my lord, how can you allegations? Let me get a clear picture for a second. Hold on.
But yeah, that all those narratives, all those false allegations of the Metcalf boys being the aggressors,
false allegations.
Oh no, not this woman. Not this woman. Oh no, isn't she's that she is that weirdo tyrant that likes to bully friggin' innocent people, bully innocent citizens in friggin' Illinois, dude. I remember seeing videos about her just straight up bullying and harassing Illinois citizens. Like, bro, nah, bro. Why hasn't she, then again, I know why she hasn't been removed or canned. Yep, it's because of the friggin' Democrats in that godforsaken state. You know, good lord, that woman is a bully. She's a tyrant. She should be the last one talking. She's about as bad as that attorney general in New York. Good lord, this woman is a classic definition. Is the classic. Uh, this woman is a classic tyrant. You know, cold blooded, throws temper tantrums, has a villainous breakdown, the whole nine goddamn yards. Like, why? Just and all for power and whatever other BS. And allegations. I get that there's like some people have a southern accent, that people who come from the south have a southern accent, but like no. Just no. Absolutely not. I don't even think she's from the south. If she is, that's even worse. Because she's an embarrassment to the South. Like, come on, man. They deserve way better than folks like you. Ugh. I can't look at these people without just. I can't look at these people without wanting to vomit. You know, it's just. Something is seriously wrong with these folks. Like, it has to be. It has to be. You know, I'm so fatigued, it's not even funny. And I don't have black fatigue. No, I have hood rat fatigue. Ghetto fatigue. Uh, hoodlum fatigue. You know, hooligan fatigue. I'm so tired of these criminals. Not only within our government, but also just everywhere in general. That it's not even funny. These people just need to leave at our country at this point, because we can't have folks like this in the country, because the only thing they want to do is destroy it and reshape it in their own image. They think they're God or something. Mind you, there's only one God, dude. You can't just try to reshape something that God already made. I mean, sure, if God gives you the tools to build something, then use them if you need to. But like, you can't try to reshape. You can't try to refine everything that God did, everything that God had set out, just so you can, put your name on it and say, "Hey guys, I did this." You know what? I know it's probably not even related, but I don't even know what else to say about this. Like, I'm stuck. I'm genuinely stuck. I'm perplexed. Why people would try to reshape, this country in their own image, when they know god darn well they're the majority are not going to tolerate this kind of crap. But hey, it is what it is, as they say.
And not facts.
Were in fact complete BS in every way, and now we know the jury has come back. They have decided that they are going to find him guilty not of the manslaughter charge, but of the murder charge, and it is deservedly so. So my heart goes out to the Metcalf family. I am certain that this is a great relief for you, but in reality, if you paid attention to the trial and not black media or black social media where they were actively lying about the case, this was obvious from the jump. Again, in my original...
Oh yeah, I remember hearing that. I remember finding out, or at least hearing, about that a bunch of some witnesses testified against him. You know, I think at least a few of them, maybe all of them, I don't know. I just know that there were some witnesses that testified against him. Um and people were not too pleased. At least the ones who would condone, at least the ones who actually condone his crimes. Jeez, if he raped a white woman, you know what's funny about this? If this dude straight up raped a white woman, those same folks, they would have no goddamn problem at all. They would act the exact same way. Oh, he's innocent. He didn't do this. This is racist. And it's like, bro, we caught this dude in 4K doing it. 4K, Ultra HD, ultra high definition, bro. Like, come on, man. Really? You can't sit here and say he didn't do it when there's video footage of him doing it. I just don't understand why it's so hard for people to tell the truth, and admit, that someone did something bad, really, really evil, rather, you know, especially when the footage and the proof is like right in front of them. Like, come on, man. What happened to wanting less crime and, more peace and stuff? Obviously, peace is just an illusion. We all know that. But for these folks, if they can't get peace, if they can't disrupt everyone else's peace, then no one gets any peace. You know what we see as peace is, well, I don't know what it is to them, but I'm not even sure if I want to know. Honestly, I don't think I want to know. Because, I've had enough of these idiots continuously trying to defend, a murderer, you know, because this isn't the first time they've done something like this either. Again, there was the whole Black Lives Matter, riots. Actually, domestic terrorism. Let's be honest with ourselves here. There was the whole domestic terrorism, Black Lives Matter nonsense. You know, all because a black man died at the hands of a police officer. Which, to be fair, the cops were definitely jerks and had no business to do what they did. However, the dude was like already on drugs, and to top it all off, George Floyd uh, held a pregnant woman at gunpoint. I'm sorry, no, but the dude is guilty as charged, and he died. He died a coward's death. He got what he deserved. Even if the officers had no business doing what they did, you know, he got what he deserved. You know, it's really despicable. Very despicable how people will defend, violent criminals just because they're a certain skin color or they meet some sort of they meet certain criteria. It's ridiculous. It really is.
Original videos where I actually go over the police reports and all the different witnesses that they had in those reports, it was clear that Karmelo Anthony was the aggressor. He was in fact the perpetrator. He murdered Austin Metcalf, and every single one of those people in black media and of course on black social media that supported Karmelo Anthony were doing so because they liked the fact that he was guilty, not because they believed he was innocent, because if you believed he was innocent, you wouldn't have to make up so much nonsense, so many lies in order to again forward Karmelo Anthony's cause. So $630,000 raised for a convicted murderer. You are scumbags, you are losers, you are disgusting in every way.
You folks are also how do I say this? You folks are also hood rats. And y'all wonder why y'all be in poverty. Jeez, maybe if y'all actually got jobs and did something constructive, y'all wouldn't have to worry about, affording things. But nope. On top of the president already making life much harder, whether you're a Trump supporter or not, regardless of what side you're on, you know, um, I'm not a leftist. I could never be. I'm sorry. Nope. Nope. I'm not even sorry about that. No. I'm sorry. That's like I would have to have no standards whatsoever just to be a leftist, and I'm not doing that. No. Um, but life is already difficult in the country. Because President Trump's not making things any better. And the Democrats are just intentionally making things even worse, just so they can pretend to be heroes at the end of the day. You know, I mean, on top of trying to embrace and spread mental illness throughout the country, as if mental illness isn't already bad enough. You know, as if mental illness isn't already a problem in the country. Um, I mean, as if mental health isn't already bad enough in the country. And now, and on top of it, you have these posers, these performatives, these uh these Black Lives Matter grifters, these wannabe social justice warrior grifters, wannabe social justice warriors who want to push a narrative because they know they're going to get publicity and fame off of it, and they know that some people are actually dumb enough to believe what they see and hear, and they want to take the death of an innocent human being, and they want to grift off of that. They want to and not grift as in say, oh, but this is what happens. No, 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 worse. They want to say, oh, but this man is innocent. This is racism. You can't do this. He can't be punished for his actions because it was all self-defense, right? You believe me, right? Is anyone listening? Like, no. Those people are just looking to make an extra buck, just probably just trying to get 5 minutes of their 5 minutes of fame by pretending to be fighting for a cause that they know is completely flawed and nonsensical, not to mention disingenuous. And again, they know this, and they don't care, because it gets them brownie points. No pun intended. It gets them brownie points. It gets them brownie points and social credit for some reason. It does. People today rely on drama just to, I guess, live their lives. A lot of people, they need drama. They need something to talk about. They need something crazy to talk about. And I'm not talking about the kind of scary things you usually see in Reddit posts, like where people share their stories of horrifying things, whether it be uh, evil human beings or things that they can't even explain, or even worse, um, people, um, or even worse, people not knowing how technology works, and as a result, we get, have images of phones that are in ways they should not be, or are damaged in ways that they should not be. To the point where it's just a tech support nightmare. It's an IT worker nightmare. You get what I'm saying? You know, they want to have something to talk about, but yet when we're the ones talking about this stuff, it's a problem. We're the ones out here informing other people of that kind of deception, of these situations, and informing them truthfully and in a condensed manner. We're suddenly the problem. It's so odd. It's so ridiculous. You know, and I don't understand it. Like, how could you want that much attention and that much drama, when you know that it's just gonna make things worse for you. It's just gonna make your life a living nightmare. You know? I get it. As humans, of course, of course, a lot of us can't resist a little bit of drama, but like, too much is just too much, you know? And this isn't even drama. This is like straight up trying to, you know, use the race of a criminal as, you know, as to push a narrative, you know, um that uh that he's the victim because he was a specific race. You know, it's literally trying to create a problem where there isn't one. You know, and see, that's a bad thing because when you start creating all these fictitious problems, when you start creating problems that don't exist and then demanding that they be solved your way, you're then you're not then you're being a jerk. You're being a jerk. I mean, honestly, I don't even know what else to say. I can't find anything else to say other than that. Because there's a lot of different things that I'm thinking that I could say, but like, I mean, that's just the best way I could describe it. It's like you're being a jerk. You're friggin' I mean, you're a psycho. It's a little better, but I mean, not exactly what I wanted to say because I felt like it wasn't. I feel like it's not even enough to describe this, but yeah, there you go. They're psychos. They're attention whores. They need attention. They need some sort of thrill in their life, and not the good kind. They need drama, something that they can just start talking about, so they can push a narrative that they know is bad and doesn't work. You know, but those people, they'll end up learning the hard way that the narrative they're trying to fight for and that they're trying to fight for just or that they're trying to push or that they keep trying to push, it just isn't worth it, you know?
Absolutely reprehensible representation of that community, but we should not be surprised because, again, this was very much racialized in the same way that the O.J. Simpson trial was, where it was a black versus white issue, and if you were on Team Black, it didn't matter that Karmelo Anthony murdered a white person. In fact, it was actually beneficial for your cause that a white person got the axe. So this is what we're going to talk about, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
The jury will now decide the sentence. In most states, it's up to a judge, but in Texas, the defendant has the option to have the jury decide that. That is what Anthony chose. And for murder, that carries 5 to 99 years or life in prison.
So we are awaiting sentencing at this moment in time, but this judge has been rather quick with the breaks, so we have a recess. It probably is a short recess, and all the reporting from the local media is that that actual sentence will be handed down soon, and I hope that it will be the harshest sentence possible for the young Karmelo Anthony. Now, again, what we found out in this trial is that all the narratives about Karmelo Anthony being an innocent Bubba Angel Aladdin who wasn't actually in the wrong tent, or how the teams didn't have their own tents, which we knew initially was absolutely false, was absolutely destroyed during this particular case by the testimony, and oftentimes it was destroyed by the testimony of the defense's own witnesses. Again, they called an individual who said that he saw Karmelo Anthony being surrounded by a group of individuals that went to the other school. They ended up finding out that this individual wasn't looking into the booth until after the actual stabbing, and when I say booth, I mean into the tent that was on the bleachers, and they were able to determine that what he saw, which was a crowd of people standing over somebody, actually took place after the stabbing. And again, this was one of the very few witnesses that the defense called, and on the stand, he ultimately ended up admitting, guess what, that yeah, it was after the stabbing, and he did not actually witness the stabbing, and this was the person. If you were going to try to do an origin point for the source of the claim that Karmelo Anthony was jumped, that got it wrong. That was that origin point. And again, it was no other witness over the 20 witnesses that were in the police reports and testified at the trial making this claim, and it's directly contradicted by the video evidence. And by the end of that, like every other witness, he also ended up acknowledging that Karmelo Anthony should not have stabbed Austin Metcalf.
Get him for perjury, dude. I thought perjury isn't perjury like a thing like that you could be charged with, lying to the court. Get him for perjury or something, because that was a straight up lie, dude. Too bad he can't. Too bad he probably can't. I think. Can he actually? I don't. I don't even know how the law works too much in Texas because I've never been to Texas. I only have the internet to go off of. But like, I'm thinking, is it possible? Like, is there perjury? Is that a thing in Texas? Like, can they get him for perjury or something? You know, maybe a false police report. Because I think they could get him for at least those two things, if not the perjury, at least. I don't know, though. I'm not a lawyer, so I only know as much as anyone else does.
In addition to that, we also had testimony that was absolutely devastating, where we had Austin Metcalf saying quite clearly, and this was heard by at least one person, I don't want to fight you, or I don't want to fight you at a track meet. Again, we had multiple different variants of that statement that were heard by other witnesses that testified during this particular proceeding. And yet, Karmelo Anthony kept saying, F y'all, F y'all. He called them a bunch of pussies. He reached into his bag and he said, touch me and see what happens. And very
Yeah, of course. The dude who stabbed an innocent guy. The dude, yeah, of course. The dude who stabbed an innocent 16-year-old to death. Or no. The dude, yeah, of course, cuz yeah, right. Come on, man. Like, yeah, because uh this is ridiculous, man. Like, really? Calling calling them calling them wussies for, you know, no reason at all other than because you think you can get away with pretending to be some tough hood rat or something is, that's ridiculous. And you folks wonder why y'all be ended up dead in cities like Chicago so quickly. Like, nah, bro. If that's the lifestyle that y'all really want to live, if that's the culture that y'all really want to celebrate, then I really feel sorry for y'all families, dude. I mean, unless they're supporting all that, because if they are, then I don't feel sorry for them at all. I don't. You know, I actually feel sorry for the folks who have to deal with y'all on a daily basis, doing all that nonsense. That's hood rat culture right there. That's the exact kind of that's black culture. Well, not black culture, but that's hood rat culture, straight up. That's the kind of shit you see in cities like Chicago and Kankakee, Los Angeles, Detroit, even. All this garbage hood culture that results in behavior like this. People thinking that they're bigger and badder than other folks simply because they exist, or simply because they got Glock switches or whatever else they happen to have in their poorly put together arsenal. It's so stupid. I don't understand what you get off of pretending to be this tough guy with the firearm or a knife or anything, you know, and then, you know, and I also don't understand how people could defend this kind of stuff. This isn't culture. This is like straight up evil. This is like evil. This is violence. Like, I thought we weren't supposed to be condoning violence, between folks, regardless of race, whatever. I thought we weren't supposed to be condoning violence. I thought we were supposed to end, I thought violence was supposed to be something that we, look down upon when it's not needed, when it's not necessary. Like, this dude really acted like he had something to prove, and it ended up costing an innocent person their life. It ended up costing an innocent 16-year-old his life. And for what? To prove that he's some tough guy or something? Well, congratulations, tough guy. Now you're in prison. You're probably gonna end up in prison or jail, whichever one it is. And I guarantee you won't be a tough guy in there. Because from what I heard, some crazy stuff will be going on in there. You know, don't drop the soap, man. I mean, I really hope you do. I hope you drop it every friggin' day of your life in a cell. I mean, I really hope you do drop it every day in prison. I really do. I don't really care. I don't. Because you know what? You took an innocent life, so you deserve to have your innocence taken. You deserve to have something taken from you. And every day. You know? Because you got yourself into that mess by doing exactly what you did and taught and behaving like that. You know, and now people want to treat you like some sort of victim. No, you are a wild animal that needs. You are a wild, uncivilized animal that needs to be locked away from the rest of society until you can get yourself together, or you just sit there for however long it takes. You know, my grandma, I refer to her as my mom. Because she was actually there for me, and so was my her uncle, uh, Jimmy. You know, uh, she raised us right, even though were treacherous as kids, and still sometimes can be, at least not intentionally now. You know, uh, we ain't out here doing nothing like this. My little brother and I ain't out here doing nothing like this. Like, this is ridiculous. This is unacceptable behavior. I mean, we're Mohegan Indian and white anyway. Only a part black. So we don't got the hood genes in us. I'm just joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. A little joke there. In case you sensitive morons try to come at me, calling me a racist. I don't really care anyway. Call me whatever makes you feel better. I really don't care. You know. It means nothing to me. It doesn't faze me. Those words have no meaning to them now. They haven't had meaning to them for the past year or so, for the past few years. But like this is definite. This is you know this is uh this is a perfect example of hood rat behavior. And it makes me wonder whether if his parents were actually raising him right, because kids won't always turn out the way you want them to. Some kids can just be straight up treacherous, and people need to accept that. But this is a case. This definitely seems more like a case of parents and family did nothing to raise this kid right. Then this kid just decided to was just born evil, or decided to be evil just for the fun of just for the heck of it. You know, again, this dude is sitting here acting like a tough guy, and now he looking at a life sentence in prison, possibly, hopefully, it's a life sentence in prison. No parole, none of that BS. Just get your butt in there and do your time. You don't get out early. You do your time and pay your debt to society and to the innocent soul you took, who you took, to the innocent life that you took. Seriously. And it's bad enough. It's bad enough that there are already too many horrible things happening in pretty much every country, especially the UK, and especially in our country, to the point where our country is basically a laughing stock again. Not a surprise. you know However, you know things are this is just straight up ridiculous. Again, this is hood rat behavior. Hood rat behavior. Hoodlum behavior. Hooligan behavior. I got hooligan fatigue, folks. Absolutely disgusting. And we're not even like halfway into the video, dude. I didn't
Unfortunately,
want the video to
again,
be this
Austin
long
Metcalf is
either.
reported as saying, yo, you're from Frisco, you don't have anything in that bag, and he went to push Karmelo Anthony out of the particular tent. And again, there's different degrees of argumentation on how hard the push was, how hard the...
I mean, and who's to say that the kid wasn't joking? Who's to say the kid? I mean, the kid could have been just joking and messing with him. You know, like some people do. Joke with folks. Not provoke folks, like joking with him. He could have been joking with the dude, and he took it to a whole nother level. And he took that shit the wrong way, bro. I mean, I remember one time when I was in high school, uh my best friend's ex-boyfriend, you know, I have a bad habit of overreacting sometimes. But well, a lot of times. Okay, I was a treacherous little shit when I was in school. I'm not going to hold you. You know, but I he was messing with me when I think it was when we first started class what was it, social studies something like something like social studies, and he was just messing with me. He threw a gum wrapper at me. I mean, whether he was actually messing with me, whether it was acceptable or not is up for debate, but he was just messing with me and I took it the wrong way, which is on me because I shouldn't have just assumed that he was just being a dirt bag. We ended up getting into it, you know, and eventually we ended up being cool with each other. And then I had to do something stupid, and you know, of course, well, you know, it's just, it's really important not to assume things, because assumptions make an ass out of you and me. That's the life lesson, one of the many life lessons I've learned. Don't assume, basically don't do anything stupid, you know. Don't be a jerk, don't do anything stupid. And it took a while for that to click in my head, for those two things. It took a while for that to click in my head. You know, it really did. But when it hit hard like a truck. It hit like a friggin' freight train. In fact, it hit like an EF5 tornado. However, this is peak hood. This is just unacceptable. You know, I mean, the dude was probably just messing with him, and the dude and Karmelo Anthony of all the goddamn folks had to take it the wrong way, and here we are, a murder charge over nothing. Really, man? If that's the kind of culture that you want to present and defend and friggin' encourage and embrace, please leave the country and do it somewhere else, because we don't want that here. We don't want that kind of culture here. We're supposed to be the United States of America, not the United States of idiots. Okay? Not the United States of wild animals either. Seriously, man. If you want to act like a wild animal with no moral compass, then you can do that in some other country where people either don't have a moral compass, or they just really don't care, or they can't really do too much about it. Okay, you can do all that shit in Iran if you want. Have fun though. Seriously. That culture, that so-called culture, which it's not even culture, bro. It's just straight up tomfoolery. That shit needs to go. That needs to be erased, man. Martin Luther King did not die for this. Like, he did not die for this shit. Jeez. All them them peaceful walks and stuff, and this is how his legacy is continued, and this is how how he's repaid. This is how his legacy is established. You know, People did not learn a lesson at all. People didn't learn, anything after Mike Jack died. You know, People didn't learn anything after uh you know Charlie Kirk was murdered. So many great people have died. And it's almost like a lot of, like, some people just that didn't click. It just they still think that they can fool around and do evil and stupid things, and they won't have consequences for it. No way, bro. Too many great people have died, and this is how they get repaid. Jeez, man. You know, I mean, even Jesus died for us, and this is what he gets in return. Yeah, you know what? There are times where I want to say, Jesus, you really deserve better. You really shouldn't have just died for people. You should have just left them to burn. But then again, there are still good people in the world, and that's the only reason he saved us, because he knew that, a lot of people did not know what they were doing, and I mean, since we are pretty much animals. We are technically animals. And he also knew that there were still good people that were worth saving. So he did a favor. He made the ultimate sacrifice, and so did his father. You know, whether it was worth it or not, only time will tell. But I'm pretty sure it was worth it. With all these evil people, we could do without them. Seriously, man. Every time, just every goddamn time, I swear, man. Some legend, a legend dies, and people just somehow just completely butcher everything. Ridiculous, man. So ridiculous. Everything all the hard work people put into stuff, all the movements made to protect the citizens and stuff, you know, and keep the government at bay, all the Constitution, everything that every good person has ever done. It seems like it all went in vain. Like no lessons were learned at all at this point. A lot of people did learn a lesson and they cherished those sacrifices, but it just seems that some people just didn't get it. They just have to make things worse. They have to make those sacrifices worthless somehow. We can't let them get away with that. We can't let them do that. No. Those sacrifices have to mean something. You know, and it's getting ridiculous that these mindless animals, think that they can just go around and make important folks, people who gave everything they had to ensure that we and everyone else could have a future, you know, and that things would not have to be like this. Folks like Martin Luther King, Jesus Christ, you know, even um who else? There are plenty of people, um I guess the woman who fought for women's rights and stuff like that, the civil rights protesters, people who made an effort, who made sacrifice, gave everything they had, you know, to ensure that we could live today, free men, women, and children. All that stuff's being undone just because some people don't like that there isn't any chaos, that there isn't enough chaos. They want to profit off of this stuff. They want to be in control. They want you to do what they tell you to, because they don't like seeing you a free man, a free woman, and a free child. These people are simply evil. They want to control you. They want you to depend on them because they need you. They need you. If you don't give in to their ways, then they're basically nothing. They are worth nothing. I guess at least that's how they see things, but I mean, honestly, they're worth nothing. They are nothing without you, without us, without people who obey them. You know, that's why you see all this stuff happening. You know, it's a shame what the world has come to. It's a shame. No, it's a shame what the human race has come to, but it is what it is, man. You know what? And I soundly thank the Lord every day that folks like Actual Justice Warrior come out here and speak out about this shit. Cause someone needs to talk about this stuff, and an honest to God conversation needs to be had about this garbage. And it needs to stop. You know, this garbage, it needs to stop, and more people need to be talking about this kind of stuff. you know, and not just content creators, regardless of how big or small they are, but everyone. Everyone needs to start talking about this. Unfortunately, though, there's also the problem where certain individuals, media outlets, politicians, you name it, you know, let's throw every politician in the bracket because they're all the same people. They don't care. It doesn't matter if it's the U.S. president or Keir Starmer. It doesn't matter who it is. They're all the exact same goddamn people here for the exact. They're all looking for the exact same thing: domination, control, money, power, fame. You name it, they want it. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, however, you know, they all just want control. You know, and we as people need to start coming together and talking about this shit. You know, more people need to start talking about it. But those folks and the media outlets that back them, you know, they don't want us doing this. They want to censor us every chance they get. And they want to shame us for wrong thing. They want to gaslight us, to emotionally manipulate us into believing that we are crazy for speaking out about this stuff and wanting to speak out about this stuff. They just can't deal with the fact that the narratives that they push are questioned because they make no sense whatsoever and they know it. They just want to be right. Literally, they want to be right. They don't want to be wrong. They want to see themselves as the only correct people. They want to see they want their ideology to be the only correct ideology, the only enforced ideology. Oh, in fact, no, they want it completely enforced. And it's despicable. But, you know, this video is long enough, so
hands placed on Karmelo actually was, but in reality, you are not supposed to respond with a deadly force threat against somebody who is not presenting themselves as anything but a physical threat. And Karmelo Anthony was already reaching into his bag. And again, I will remind you that all these different black media outlets ended up running with these narratives about how, oh, Karmelo Anthony had his phone smashed by the Metcalf boys. The Metcalf boys actually knew Karmelo Anthony and they had beef against him that went back ages.
Hey, to all of the people who are against Karmelo Anthony, me as a black man in America, white people.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, because your race is completely relevant. Yeah, because your race is totally relevant in whatever view of reality you have you're about to present. You folks annoy me. Like, really? Hey guys, I'm a black American, and if you're not with Carmelo Anthony, then you're wrong because you're not black. Because Carmelo Anthony is black. He's obviously innocent. You guys are just racist. That's all that the only thing these people say. They only focus on race. They only focus on the fact that Carmelo Anthony is black. That's all they focus on. They don't care about anything else. They don't care about the rest of the details. They don't care about what he did, what his motivations were. They don't even care about the situation itself. They only care about his race. And all that it took for them was to defend him was because he was black. That's it. That's the only reason they defend him. Obviously, they have even more sinister motives than that. But that's exactly what they needed. That's exactly the detail that they needed. The fact that they needed to push their ridiculous, warped view of reality and gaslight other people, or at least attempt to, into believing that they're wrong for not accepting that warped view of reality. Good Lord. I mean, really? Is that the only thing you folks think about, is being black all the time? Like, I'm here wondering what relevance does you being a black American serve to the situation you're supposed to be forming an opinion about? Like, well, you're not even speaking factually. You're just trying to argue your opinion is fact anyway, so your point is completely irrelevant and just nonsensical, way too nonsensical to be taken seriously. I mean, and the fact that you even you even mentioned your own race just completely destroyed whatever argument you had. Your race has nothing to do with, the situation. So why are you trying to make yourself out to be this? Why are you trying to make, you being black to be some sort of important detail that should convince people to take you more seriously? It doesn't make it doesn't make it doesn't make people with a functioning brain take you seriously. It just embarrasses you and just makes people think you're a laughing stock. It just makes you look like a clown, to be honest. That's the best way I can describe it without saying what I really want to say, because YouTube, that's why. You know, um you guys are friggin' clowns. And the nose ring, you know what? You know, most of the time when I look at people mentioning a nose ring as a red flag, I just laugh and just think like, bro, come on, man. The nose ring, anybody could wear a nose ring. Like, that's like looking at someone playing that's like looking at someone that's like looking into someone's room and noticing that they have an Xbox console, in the room. Anybody can have it, and calling them an Xbox fan, or automatically assuming they're an Xbox fan. Anybody can have an Xbox, dude. Even PlayStation players have other consoles, especially Xboxes. You know, However, now I'm really just starting to, at this point, I'm starting to believe it. I'm starting to consider that this is just a red flag, because it does, from what I've seen, it seems like the folks who have a nose ring, most of the time, people with a nose ring, it just, it's just, the people with the nose rings, like, it's just like an automatic detail that I'm seeing that now. Because the idiots commonly defending stupid shit and even violent crime tend to have the nose ring. You know, yeah. So honestly, you know what? Yeah. The fact he has a nose ring and even said that he was a black American, as if anyone cares, as if anyone is supposed to care, it, it automatically destroyed his argument. His argument is completely invalid. Because you can't just bring up your race when it doesn't fit the context. Like, we're talking about a murder case here. We're not talking about you. Well, now I am, because you decided to be an idiot, so of course I'm gonna embarrass you. Well, no, you know what? You already did that yourself, so I didn't even have to do too much. I'm just calling out idiots at this point, calling out crime defenders. Folks like you need to be put feet first into a wood chipper. You may not be a predator or a rapist, but I'll tell you what though, just you defending a murderer is more than enough of a reason to be thrown in the wood to have you thrown in the wood chipper. Like, these people just straight up annoy me, man. Especially when they come on TikTok and think that and try to pretend to be some friggin' judge or lawyer or something. They try to they're looking to be self-righteous, and they fail at that, because these people have no morals. They think, these are the same folks who believe a biological man can be a woman. Yeah, these are the folks that are defending. These are also those folks that these are the kinds of folks that are defending a murderer. The same ones that believe a biological man can be a biological woman. The same ones that want unlimited, unsupervised access to your children. Well, to anyone really, but specifically your children. Now, isn't that something? Don't you think that's a little odd? But yeah, that's these folks. I could go on and on about these sick-minded wackos, but the video isn't about them. It's partially about them, but we're talking. Well, the topic here is a murder case. This guy just happened to whatever this individual is supposed to be probably has pronouns too. I wouldn't put it past it. Whatever the hell the thing is, you know. Apologies for dehumanizing a human, but sometimes people have to learn the hard way that no one's putting up with their nonsense. You know, um, but yeah, the the he she warriors strike again. Bonus points for being a specific skin color. God, don't these people ever don't these people have anything better to do than to defend violent criminals? Good Lord, man. These folks would defend rapists if they could. They probably defend child sexual predators too.
I'm telling you, and I'm telling you now, you ever even think to approach me, bully me,
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Pull out a Glock switch or something? What are you gonna do, buddy? You ain't doing nothing. You're talking behind a screen, and you made a video on TikTok talking tough behind a screen, bro. And you got a nose ring. And you got all these goddamn piercings on top of that. And look at your friggin' hair, man. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Call the cops? You gonna ask me for some Kentucky Fried if I want some Kentucky Fried Chicken? Just joking. Just making a joke. Seriously, folks, if you can't take a joke, you know, then that's really your problem. But you know what I mean. You know, you know. I mean, come on, bro. What are you going to do? What are you gonna do? You gonna provide services or something? Like, come on, man. You don't look like you could do too much of anything other than just sit behind a screen and talk about what you're gonna do if someone hurts your feelings, in a TikTok video. Come on, bro. I use TikTok, but nah, you don't catch me making videos on it unless well, sometimes I do. Usually rarely. Shoot, I rarely ever go on TikTok anyway. Um, at least not that often. I rarely ever make videos on it as well, on my TikTok as well. You know, I tried, but I eventually just like stopped doing it because it just wasn't. It just didn't feel. It didn't feel interesting. It's like Instagram with. It's like Instagram, but I don't know, with different stuff, I guess. That's the best way I could describe TikTok is like Instagram with, well, a fresh coat of paint, you know. But still, the fact that these folks actually think that they're that tough is funny. These folks are not tough. They need to be in numbers. Yes, they need to be in a group to be effective at anything. These folks bully you. These folks approach you in a group. They don't approach you by themselves. They approach you in a group. They're cowards. Listen very closely, buddy. You are a coward and you know it. You're not going to do anything. And if you do, you'll be looking at a prison sentence. I mean, unless you live in blue states, then, well, the judges will probably give you probation or whatever. They won't care because we know how they operate. Come on, bro. Just put the fries in the bag. And just put the fries in my Just put my fries and my burger in the bag, and just so I can go home, bro. So I can get home. I'm trying to eat. I ain't I'm trying to go home so I can eat. I ain't trying to hear you complain. I ain't trying to hear you complain about your job. Okay? Come on, man. Like, You could talk to your mom about your job, not me, dude. I mean, well, it's not even the right time to do it because I gotta go home and eat. You guys get what I'm saying. Like I said, these people come on TikTok, on social media regardless, and act like they're tough. And you see this a lot on TikTok, where these folks just come out of the blue saying, "Oh, if you don't support Carmelo Anthony, you come bully me. I'm gonna do this to you." Come on, man. No, 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 bro. Nah. We need JD delay, bro. We need more JD delays to tell these to like, tell these so-called tough guys that they ain't really nothing. Dude, first and foremost, most people gonna mop the floor with you. They gonna mop the floor with you, man. Don't go talking tough and then go out there and then approach some random person and try to harass them because they gonna mop the floor with you. I guarantee it. I want to actually see a video of that too. I would pay to see something like that. Like, come on, man. Next you gonna end up being addressed and having a whole goddamn meltdown about how you got rejected by another man. Come on, man. This is just so wild. Mike Tyson was absolutely right when he said social media made people way too goddamn comfortable. These folks are way too comfortable, bro. They never got their ass handed to them before. I tell you what, folks like him keep it up, that's exactly what's gonna happen to him. Like I was told before, when I was a little turd as a kid, you approach the wrong person one day and you gonna get mollywopped. I got different versions of it, but the main. It's the same. It all means the same thing. You approach the wrong person, buddy, they gonna be mopping the floor with you. These folks, man, they really just piss me off sometimes. It makes me really want to punch him through the screen. Like I really want to grab him through the screen and just throttle him. Cause like no, this is not how you conduct yourself. Ugh, these people, man.
Harass me, think you're gonna be with your twin brother or twin whatever, and do anything to me. I too will poke you as
Oh,
well.
oh, really? Well, guess what? Don't be in Texas when that happens, cause they gonna get you. The law gonna get you in Texas if you do that, buddy. So don't think you gonna go out there and murder somebody for hurting your poor fragile feelings. Because you gonna either get your ass handed to you or you gonna end up in cuffs, buddy. And don't drop the soap. Whatever you do, don't do it. Don't do it, because you won't be tough after that. You won't be tough. I just love making jokes about these people because these people are absolute clowns, man. Like, these people are just pure entertainment. They are pure entertainment. It is so goddamn funny how these folks with these nose rings think they all that. Dude, you act more feminine than you do a man. That don't make you a woman though. You still a man at the end of the day, but you not a man. Come on now. Come on now, man. You gotta you stop the madness, bro. Y'all gotta stop the madness. Cause this is just embarrassing, bro. This is really embarrassing to our country, bro. I mean, it's bad enough we already a laughing stock. This is just making things even worse. Good lord, man. These people are embarrassing. I feel bad for his parents, I'll tell you that.
Straight to the heart. And that's on self-defense. This is not the Jim Crow era.
Self-defense, that's not how self-defense works, you moron. Seriously, have you ever bothered to look up the laws on how self-defense actually works, especially in whatever state you happen to be in? Self-defense is usually when you protect yourself from harm. people hurling insults or whatever at you, or even, you know, people verbal. Let me tell you something. From as far as I know, you can't just when someone walks up to you and says something, that you might be offended by, you can't just stab them to death over it. That's not how that works. That's not self-defense. That's called murder. Because even if the person was saying something that was offensive to you, or something that you didn't like, you can't just murder them over it. That's not how that works. You know, these folks are just straight up violent. They are evil, dude. They are evil. This dude, I guarantee you, this dude gonna end up being in prison. One day, this dude gonna find himself in prison. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Either that, or he won't even exist anymore. Cause he gonna mess with the wrong person, and he ain't gonna live to tell the tale. Like, this dude is just, you gotta stop the madness, man. You gotta stop the madness. You gotta stop the madness, man. You really do. Cause you gonna end up finding yourself dropping the soap. You gonna end up being in no man's land. I hate to say it, man, but you gonna end up being right in no man's land.
This ain't 400 years ago. This ain't 1619.
Here we go again with the race stuff. Here we go again with the race. Bro, no one cares, dude, okay? No one cares. Slavery was a skill issue. Alright? See, I never wanted to say that. I didn't even want to come to that point, but you know what? I'm tired of these people of that being the only thing that these people think about. So you know what? Take your slavery, your victimhood, and shove it up where the sun don't shine. It was a skill issue anyway. Fight back. There you go. Is that what you wanted to hear? Like, come on, man. You folks are so miserable over nothing. You have a nose ring, man. And all those piercings. What the heck? Why? You know you're not gonna do anything, dude. You have to be stupid to even try to do something like that. No. No, dude. If you have any sense, which I doubt you do anyway, if you have any sense, you will keep just talking in TikTok videos and not actually try that in real life. Because if you do, you will be finding yourself in no man's land. You'll either be dead or you'll be serving time and dropping the soap on top of it. Those are the only two options you got. Ain't nobody gonna help you. Only God can help you. And honestly, I'm pretty sure he's disappointed in you. You know, and you got yourself you gonna get yourself into whatever predicament. So whatever you do is gonna be on you. Come on, man. Don't y'all ever think about something else other than just wanting a reason to go to prison or something? Is that what y'all like? Do y'all really like doing that? Do y'all really like being told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it? Because that's what happens in prison. You ain't got no freedom there. Like, do y'all like that kind of lifestyle? Just being given orders and commands? Y'all can't possibly hate slavery that much. I mean, I'm not trying to argue or even claim that prison is slavery. I guess it depends on really the context or whatever, but no. Prison is where you go to get punished for, breaking the law, for doing awful things. And if you do something evil, you definitely should be imprisoned for the rest of the duration of your life. You know, unless you actually are redeemable, which certain kinds of folks are not. However, with that being said, you know, you can't hate slavery that much if you are more than willing to go to prison over someone hurting your feelings, while, basically by murdering them. You can't hate slavery that much if you're willing to go to prison, you know, just because someone hurt your poor little feelings. Like, come on, man. You must not hate slavery that much. That's what's on your mind. You seem to like that kind of lifestyle. Being told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Being told when to go to the bathroom. You seem to like that kind of lifestyle. You know, because you folks don't seem to be making any kind of effort to avoid, going ending up in no man's land. Y'all really something wrong with y'all, man.
This ain't back in them days. Y'all don't want to end up like Austin. Leave black people alone.
Excuse me? Buddy, I hate to break it to you, but if you don't want to end up like George Floyd, I would advise you, to get yourself together. In fact, I would advise you to keep talking behind the screen if you don't want to end up like George Floyd or Karmelo Anthony. Okay? You know what? We putting people in the pack now. That's it. I'm gonna call it the George Floyd pack. We putting folks in the pack now. You folks are an embarrassment to Martin Luther King and what he fought for. You should be ashamed of yourself. You ignorant moron. You should be ashamed of yourself. Shame on you. You are disgusting. You are one of the many things that's wrong with the world, that's wrong with this country today. You folks took everything Martin Luther King and other people who stood by him, who took what Martin Luther King and other people who stood by him fought for and completely butchered it. Just for whatever reason, I don't know, but y'all butchered everything he fought for. Come on, man. Y'all are some wild animals. I tell you what, you try that in states like Texas, buddy, you gonna find yourself dead. All right? So if I was you, I'd get myself together before you find yourself dead on the streets. Come on, man. Like, come on, dude. You ain't even gonna end up making it in prison, dude. You gonna end up dying by the hands of whoever you try to murder. Because folks don't play like you think they do, buddy. Come on, man. Get your head out of your rear end and get it back to reality, man. That would be wonderful.
Y'all didn't play fair for 400 years. We ain't playing fair with y'all either.
Turns out none of that was true. It was acknowledged that Karmelo did not know the Meth Cap boys. And by the way, if he did know them and he approached with the knife and then baited this situation, that would be more cause for a murder conviction, not less cause for a murder conviction. So these black activists, these absolute idiots that were putting out everyone and anyone who would lie about this case.
It was raining. They got rained out like crazy bad. Everybody trying to get back to their cars or get in, places where they, wouldn't get all extra wet at. Dude was sitting up under the tent, right? He was on his phone, right? My daughters was up under the same goddamn tent. Yeah. So I'm paying attention to my kids, but at the same time, they're in the same vicinity, so I'm watching everything going on around it because I'm there for my children. So dude walks up, McKellen, bro, he wasn't even under the tent at the time. They came from a whole separate tent and walked over there. They intentionally went over there to this kid, man. Dude was sitting there on his phone just trying to get dry. You feel me? One thing went from another. They grabbed this man and they tried to punch on dude. Dude went in his bag and whatever. They went to try to jump this dude and punch on this dude, man. And he protected himself, dude. That's what happened. Yeah.
My thing is, if that's the case, why didn't they call the cops if that's what happened? That's how you know they're lying. Because, normally in that kind of situation, someone would be calling the cops, but beforehand, like, or someone at least would be recording or something. Why do these people have to lie? I don't understand. Like, why? Why do they have to lie about this kind of stuff? What do they gain by doing this? I don't think I ever will know. I'm not even sure I want to know, to be honest.
It wasn't just one, it was both of them, bro. Austin, the dude that got unalive, and his brother physically went over there to intentionally. He had to bring. It's not to the point that he brought a knife. For one, it wasn't on school property. The school is at least 5 to 10 miles away. It was community track meet, bruh. It wasn't a school track meet. So he had the right to have a knife on his person, bro.
If it was part of the school, then it was on school property. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole should any kind of, weapon, I guess, knife or whatever, knife, firearm, whatever, should be used, or should be on school property by, well, people who are actually responsible. I'm not going to get into that whole debate or anything. I mean, personally, I believe that if a citizen, that a law-abiding citizen should be able to carry a firearm wherever they go, because it is a constitutional right, and nothing supersedes the Constitution, and nothing overrides the Constitution, because our government is not, it tells our government what they cannot do. However, if that track meet took place, if that track is part of the school, then it is on school property. Now, I'm not exactly sure if it is part of the school, but if it is, then it is on school property.
An idiot, because they were not actually arguing for their side. And again, the defense had to rebut a bunch of this stuff. Again, playlist linked in the description, you could check it out, because we covered all of these developments at the time. But right now, Karmelo Anthony, guilty of murder, not manslaughter. I was actually upset that they gave the option for manslaughter, and this is because the defense had absolutely nothing. Again, guys, they were so pathetic at this particular trial that while they were arguing self-defense, essentially what they were trying to say is that technically the knife that Karmelo had was legal under Texas law.
Whether it was legal or not, it doesn't change the fact that it was used in an unlawful manner. Like, seriously, that's like saying that a firearm an M16 was an M16A1, because was technically legal in Alabama, but was technically legal in Alabama. That doesn't change the fact that it was used unlawfully and by a psychopath nonetheless. You can't just sit there and try to act like the knife, and act like the object used by a violent criminal to murder or do whatever horrible thing to the innocent individual is the only important part about it, or the only factor that should be, that should be considered. No, it's not the knife, whether or not the knife was legal. It's the fact that he used the knife in an unlawful manner. He used it unlawfully. He murdered someone with it. You can't do that. And it's not self-defense. Murder is not self-defense. Murder is the killing of an innocent human being. That's not self-defense. That's murder.
Which is in fact true. However, it was banned from this particular school event, which does not have the same weight as it being illegal, but also you can carry a legal weapon and use it during a commission of a crime. Remember, Karmelo Anthony is not charged with a weapons offense. He's charged with murder and manslaughter because of what he did with that weapon. The other thing that they try to argue was this idea that Karmelo Anthony being in the tent, that wasn't even that unusual. But the thing is, even the guy that Karmelo Anthony went to see that actually knew him. And by the way, he didn't really know him. He knew Carmelo Anthony's girlfriend, so basically she was the mutual between them. Even he said in his testimony that it was weird. And by the way, Carmelo Anthony did not act in self-defense. So the prosecution basically slammed and hammered this home repeatedly, and Carmelo Anthony never testified on his side of what happened. And the reason for that is because he had no case. He never had any case. Anybody who sold you that he had a case was an absolute liar. But that's the thing. For these people, it was never actually about whether or not Carmelo Anthony was guilty or innocent. In fact, even if he was guilty, as stated by multiple people outside of the trial, they would still support him because he was black. Here, this most honest woman outside of the trial who came out.
Exactly, because black people are innocent. They are not capable of doing wrong. Yeah, said every criminal ever. Right. It's like they think crime is some sort of race-based thing, where if you're a certain skin, if you're not black, then you're guilty of a crime or something, or then you commit crimes, and if you're black, then you don't commit crimes. It's so stupid. Those people, the ideology of those people is so backwards. It's not even fun. It's actually funny. It's actually laughable. Like, how can you have such a warped view of reality? When you know that your warped view of reality makes no sense whatsoever and is not how reality actually works. Mind you, reality is very unrealistic. It wasn't exactly designed to be one shoe fits all, or one size fits all. It's not, it's very unpredictable. There are many things that happen that we don't understand, and it's meant to be that way. However, trying to take reality and warp it, into your own view of how it works is stupid and foolish. It's disingenuous. It really is. And these people are doing just that. They're trying to, you know, they're acting as if, you know, a criminal, a violent criminal, or being black. Let's say the quiet part out loud that they don't want to say. They're trying to. They believe that being black automatically makes you innocent, even if you were witness committing a violent crime, even if you were actually guilty of committing a violent crime, or any crime really. These people actually believe that if you are innocent, that if you are black, you are automatically innocent, even when it's very clear that you are not. These are the same people that would argue with God, when that would argue with God when he questions every single thing that they've ever done. Like, those are the exact same people that would argue with God if they had to, or if they felt, let's just say this. Those are the same people that would argue with God. Like, they would never shut up. They would keep arguing with him until he just decides to just give up. They would keep arguing with him. They would argue with him over, pretending to, acting as if they know more than he does, or if they know better than he does. Seriously, those people would argue with friggin' Jesus, and Jesus is not someone you really want to argue with. I mean, of course, God you never want to argue with, unless you want to be on the receiving end of something horrifying, which he's not a monster, obviously. I'm just making some jokes. Again, however, but he's definitely not someone you really want to argue with. He's not someone you want to tempt. Or he's not someone he's not someone you want to give a reason. But Jesus, you don't want to argue with him either, because he'll prove you wrong every single time, and he'll humiliate you, and justifiably so. Everyone has a breaking point, and everyone has a point where they have to embarrass someone who tried to pretend to know more than they did. However, this is outright ridiculous. These people really think that if you are black, you are innocent. Wow. And they have the nerve to complain about Jim Crow and stuff. Jeez. They sure seem to act like they sure seem to want that kind of era for white people. Well, really anyone that doesn't go along with their agenda. I mean, they'll kill their own, for not supporting them. Trust me, they do. They really do. They don't care about their own. They don't care about other black people. If you're black and you're not for them or with whatever their BS agenda, then they hate your guts and they treat you the same as they treat anyone else who doesn't align with the agenda. They'll even kill you if they can get away with it.
To protest on behalf of Karmelo Anthony say that in plain English.
If evidence does come out that Karmelo was not in fact fighting for his life when he stabbed and killed Austin Metcalf, do you think that the black community will accept that?
If evidence shows that he did not, no, we're going to stand by ours regardless.
Of course, because you folks are criminals. You folks support criminals. That's why you folks keep standing by violent criminals. You folks always do that crap, and then wonder why you guys are a laughing stock. Come on, man. Y'all gotta stop the madness, man. Y'all really gotta stop the madness. Y'all really gotta stop the madness. Really? And y'all wonder why y'all communities are so messed up. Good Lord. Wow, you folks are just a piece of work. You folks make black people look bad. Like, really? They don't deserve that. Stop making them look bad. Seriously, you guys are an embarrassment to black folks. I'm part black and I'm already embarrassed thanks to these people. Good Lord. These people, man, are animals. Wild animals, and they get on my goddamn nerves sometimes. A lot
Stand by
of
theirs. We're going to stand by ours.
Have you ever thought that a lot of people, stand by folks because there's a lot of reasons why people stand by folks, families stand by their own when they get in trouble or whatnot. There's a lot of reasons. Usually a lot of the reasons are denial in the event that, the family member in trouble is a criminal. That doesn't even matter at this point, because I'm tired of trying to make any explanation for these people. I'm tired of trying to educate these people on how things actually work. Such a goddamn waste of time, man. And these folks wonder why, like, their communities are so violent. Everywhere they go, it's a problem. They cause problems everywhere they
Okay,
go.
well, maybe it's not the most plain English, but what we can expect from somebody like her. In addition to that, I played this in my previous video, but let me recycle the clips for you guys. The O.J. Simpson jury also proved this, that they don't give a damn if a black person murders a white person. In fact, they support it because it is a form of racial revenge against white people, and that is not something that I'm saying. That's something that a black juror said on the O.J. Simpson trial.
Do you think that they're members of the jury that voted to acquit OJ because of Rodney King?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
How many of you think felt that way?
Oh, probably 90% of us.
90%? Did you feel that way?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That was payback.
Uh-huh.
You think that's right?
Now again,
you evil little animal. Yeah. You should be in there. You should have been in there with him too, in the exact same cell as him. Yeah, we'll see if you still support. See if you still support him. Yeah. Those people, man. Those people are just straight up evil, 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 evil all the way around, and they wonder why they suffer. Yeah.
And recycling from my previous video that I released only a couple of hours ago. Remember when they interviewed somebody at the majority black college that was near Duke University during the Duke lacrosse scandal, a student said he doesn't care if they're guilty, he wants them convicted. Again, this is the animus that a certain section of the black population has against white people that overwhelms all morality for this section of the population. And again, it's not all. I've seen a lot of black creators that have been more on this case in the trial phase than I have, and
Exactly. The legendary ruined Leon. Oh boy, yeah. He when it comes to stuff like this, he will tear you a new one for even supporting that garbage. Yeah. The ruined Leon is the GOAT. Ruined Leon is the absolute GOAT.
this is because they actually have morals, they have a backbone, they actually have a spine, and they've proven them out time and time again. But yeah, it's a reprehensible part of black communities in this country, and that was what was on display right here. And by the way, these people were so reprehensible that when they asked black jurors, prospective black jurors in this particular trial, if they would be able to judge it fairly, they admitted that they would never convict Karmelo Anthony, and this is why, very luckily, the jury did not have a bunch of black people on it.
Yep. Then they don't need to be. Then they don't need to be part of the jury. Then, if you're not going to convict someone who's obviously guilty, who is been proven guilty of a crime, who's been proven to commit a violent crime or a crime of any kind, really, because of their race, because of racial motivation, then you shouldn't be part of a jury. Because you're basically allowing a criminal to get away with their crimes because of their race. No, we don't have. This shit is not how. That's not how things are supposed to work. I'd say people who do that, who are on a jury, should also be arrested and charged as well. For as accomplices to the crime, or as accomplices.
It showed us that time and time in American history, it has shown us to remove emotions from yet the law.
Oh, shut up, man. You looking at the camera, into the camera, you would defend a black man who raped a white woman. Get the heck out of here, you animal. You know what? You would defend black people regardless. Get the heck out of here, buddy. Jeez, you are an embarrassment to black people, man. Hood rat.
This trial showed that it put emotions over the law. After Trayvon Martin and so many countless names, it has shown us that black life is not safe in Colorado.
Oh yeah, of course. Putting emotions over the law is only bad when it goes against your agenda. Yeah, right. Come on, man. Who do you think you're fooling here? Nope. Criminals are to be punished, not rewarded, not allowed to walk free until they paid their debt to society, or, never released if they're that evil. Nope. You're gonna learn. You're gonna learn the hard way that crime is to be punished. Seriously, man. Get with the program. If you don't like it, you can leave the country. But you need the country. Because there's nowhere else to run to. So you folks have to just destroy and mess up our country just so you can have your own little lifestyle and not have to worry about and not have to worry about having to follow any rules or have any morals whatsoever. No, absolutely not. You have rules. You follow the rules in our country, and you have morals, or you leave. It's that simple. Or you get punished. Seriously, man. We're the United States of America. We're not North Korea. We're not Iran. We're not Iraq. And we're certainly not Burma. We are the United States of America. We're not Mexico or the United Kingdom either. Or at least the modern United Kingdom. No. We are the United States of America. Crime is punished here, one way or another. So I suggest you get with the program. Unless you want to pack your bags and leave the country and never come back, because we don't want you back here, really. No, people like you don't need to be here. You folks are just making more and more problems that have to be solved, and y'all keep making it harder to fix those problems intentionally.
On the county. It showed us that they did not listen to the law. It showed clearly that a judge interfered in this process. It showed very clearly that a black boy was allowed, not one black soul on a...
The black boy was innocent! I swear he was innocent! He totally didn't stab an innocent boy to death. He totally didn't do anything evil. He's innocent, I tell you. He's an angel. He's an angel. You have to believe me. You believe me, don't you? No, I don't. I don't believe you. I don't believe you, and I probably never will. Hopefully I never do believe you. I don't believe you. No. Now this is a perfect example of a villainous breakdown. Having a meltdown because you can't get your way and because your agenda, you couldn't successfully push your agenda. You know how embarrassing this is for our country? To have folks like him try to argue that, if you're black or you fit any other criteria, that you're completely and automatically innocent no matter what you did, what you were proved to be doing. No, they want to completely override the law based on their emotions. But they don't want other people doing it, even though that's not what's actually happening at all in the case. The people who are defending Karmelo Anthony, they're the ones who are trying to override and overrule the law with their emotions. You can't do that. Criminals are criminals, and they are to be punished. If reform is possible, then reform. But violent criminals are to be punished, regardless of what your poor little fifis have you feeling. Your feelings don't matter, dude. Get with the program. No one cares about your little meltdown that a murderer is now being punished for what he did. Come on, man. No one cares. No one's listening to y'all. Y'all always have to play the victim when y'all do something wild. And then when y'all don't get y'all way, y'all start acting like wild animals anyway. No. Y'all can Black Lives Matter until the end of days or whatever. But we're not buying it. No. We're fatigued. We got hood rat fatigue. We're tired of you people. You folks make black people look bad. You folks keep messing up our country, as if it's not already being messed up by our own government and certain people from a certain country that practice a certain religion of evil, let's be honest, amongst a bunch of other things. No, bro, we don't need no more problems in our country. Nope. Crime gets punished now, if you haven't already noticed. Nope. Like, seriously, man. Y'all gotta stop with the victim mentality. It's gotta stop. You see, this is exactly why criminals get away with committing crimes in our country, because of people like him. Yeah, because race is totally such an important factor in whether or not someone is innocent or guilty. Right. It makes me wonder how many other black folks were actually ruled to innocent. It makes me wonder. It makes me really start thinking how many folks out there, were claimed to be innocent and walked away free and turned out to not be innocent. It makes me wonder how many criminals got off free, especially if they're a certain color. It just makes me start to think, if those people were advocating for the release of a criminal, and I can only imagine how many criminals in the past, years and years before, have gotten off scot-free because of people like him. You see, the funny part is when Jesus and the people who did back him, at least to a certain extent, at least, when people who did advocate for Jesus' innocence, when Jesus and the people who advocated for his innocence, was begging, you know, to to listen to reason, no one listened to him. Only a few people listened to him. And by then it was already too late. Because those same folks were also threatened by a massive crowd of people who were basically a bunch of friggin' fatherless cowards. You know, but, but somehow people will look at this and will listen to these folks. Well, no one, a lot of people didn't believe Jesus when he said when he was innocent, when he was proven to be innocent. So why should we believe them? Why should we believe a word they say? What's fair is fair, don't you think? I know that's a slippery slope, but you know what? I'm tired of these people pretending to be these morally righteous folks, while obviously doing shady things in the background and trying to, protect violent criminals that are proven to be evil and guilty, and then pulling the racism and victim card on top of it when they don't get their way and destroying everything that moves and just destroying things in general when they don't get their way anyway. I'm tired of that. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry guys that this video is so long, but I'm sick of this garbage. 2 hours of me mostly ranting. I'm just so tired of this mess. Why can't they just accept the goddamn truth and just be done with it? It doesn't take that much. These people are just straight up evil or just delusional. I don't even know which one anymore. I mean, honestly, at this point, what's the difference?
Jury. An all white jury.
So in the same way that...
You know what? The only credit he gets from me is that he will be a good actor. He would be a good actor. He would be a good actor. But besides that, no. Absolutely not. This dude is just ridiculous. He is just ridiculous. He is trying to protect a criminal. We don't do that. No. Those who protect criminals get bullied and mocked. And for good reason. If you want to go around protecting criminals, you can do that in some other country, but not here. You get bullied, shamed, and mocked for that kind of shit. We don't play that. Absolutely not. We don't let criminals walk free so they can continue to victimize more people. Nope. Because he gets released. We're talking about innocent folks dying anyway. We're talking about more innocent people dying. Absolutely not. No. The innocent lives that would be at risk, that would be lost behind him being released is not worth his release. Absolutely not. He'll die in prison. So be it. He will die in prison. I hope he does. In fact, I hope he drops the soap every day. You know, because I'm tired of this stuff. I'm tired of this stuff. Y'all want something to be mad at? Well, now y'all got something to be mad at. Really, I'm tired of this shit. I'm really tired of this. I hope that he gets prison justice too. Oh, I know these folks are going to be seething when they hear that he was killed in prison. It'll be dish served cold.
An all white jury.
So in the same way that I give praise to that woman who was outside the courtroom for just admitting that she doesn't care that Karmelo Anthony was a murderer, that it didn't matter if he was guilty because he killed a white person and she's sticking with her tribe, I actually appreciate those jurors being honest in the fact that they wouldn't convict a black person of murdering a white person, because while it's reprehensible, had they gotten on the jury and done that, that would have been significantly worse. Now look, again, at the time that I'm shooting this video, the sentence has not been announced. I'll probably punch in as editing Sean if it is by the time that I'm done editing this video. But in my opinion, regardless of what future me sees as the sentence, I believe that Karmelo Anthony should get the maximum possible sentence, which unfortunately, because he's age 17, cannot even go up to life without the possibility of parole, as it has been declared unconstitutional to give under 18s life without parole, much less the death penalty. But by the way, back in the day,
it shouldn't be ruled unconstitutional, because if you do something evil, especially if you take the life of an innocent human being, then the favor should be returned. What's good, what's fair is fair, man. I mean, at the very least, he should be spending the rest of his life in prison and die in prison if it comes down to it. I don't freaking care that he's a minor. He knew exactly what he was doing. Let him die in prison. Let him get prison justice, because that's exactly what he deserves. He knew what he was doing, so those folks can watch him die in prison for all I care. They can watch and seethe, and they can weep about it, but there's nothing they can do. And I hope that's the case. I really do. Because that's exactly what this animal deserves.
This would have been a death penalty case. He baited the encounter, he lured Metcalf in, and he stabbed him in the heart. And then Karmelo, who again supposedly was acting in self-defense, or according to the defense at one point in time, was just holding the knife out there for no particular reason when Austin Metcalf impaled himself. Yes, this was actually argued by the defense at court. Again, the spaghetti defense, throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. He then decided to turn himself into the police and explain what happened like a regular self-defender. No, I'm just kidding. He threw the knife away, he fled, he actually stuttered between running and walking because he didn't want to seem so suspicious, and yeah, Karmelo Anthony obviously guilty from the jump, and every single person that supported him, unless you were lied to and too stupid to do the research and you genuinely believed that he was attacked by these white people, which obviously wasn't true, you're a scumbag in every way, because I know many...
You know what? And to top it all off, for those who still believe that he's innocent and can't get their heads out of their rear ends, I hope an EF5 tornado hits your house. I really do. You know what? We need to. The human race ain't learned none. We need to bring it. God need to bring EF5 tornadoes back, because people need to learn lessons. They need to learn lessons, man. I'm sorry for all the innocent lives that are probably going to be lost, but you know what? People need to learn hard lessons. Because it's like people didn't learn anything at all. At all. And I don't mean to say this kind of stuff, because I know I'm basically talking about innocent lives being caught in the crossfire. But you know what? I'm tired of this stuff happening and people looking at this and saying, oh, well, it's not that bad. Or trying to defend an obviously evil person. No, we don't defend evil people. Not in our country. I mean, the president is up for debate. President's up for debate. I'm not gonna sit and have a whole anti-Trump or pro-Trump conversation. I'm not doing that. If you want to in the comments, feel free to, because I don't really care if you do. I mean, hey, you can discuss things. There's nothing wrong with that. Just be civil about stuff, please. However, this is ridiculous. These people need to learn that they can't just sit there and defend a friggin' criminal. Like, where's the Punisher when you need him? Because there are way too many criminals out here that need to be Swiss cheese. Way too many of them that need to be Swiss cheese. Too many folks have gotten away with too much, and they need to be punished for it. It's gotten to the point where you can't even really demand justice, because you're either going to be considered a racist or a bigot, or whatever other left-leaning buzzword people, these leftists come up with nowadays. It's so pathetic, man. Such a ridiculous narrative that just needs to die, man. It really does. And all this to defend a black man? I don't understand why. Why? Why do you need to feel the need to defend a criminal based on his race? You know, some people, I'm really starting to believe that some people just exist to make you feel better about yourself. I'm really starting to believe that. Just when I thought I did some of the stupidest shit or I was a little turd even in high school. There's definitely seems to be worse people. There are definitely worse people than me. Than I. Yeah. Now I feel a lot better about myself. Because these people are just animals. Animals, animals, animals. I'll tell you this. I would rather be in an all-white neighborhood than be in a neighborhood with colored people. With all colored people. You know, you know, make of that what you will, but hey, it is what it is, man. And I said that for a friggin' reason. You know, I'm that way for a reason, man. Does that mean I'm racist? No. It just means I know exactly what I'd be up against. I know the difference between the two.
Many of these creators absolutely 100% knew that he was guilty, but they didn't care. They sold it to their dumb audience based on racial, tribal lines, and in addition to that, many of them themselves believe it's actually moral to murder a white person for no reason because you felt disrespected. And again, I will add that even though they might not have been racially motivated, make no mistake about it, it is definitely ingrained in black culture to have these situations where small moments of disrespect end up escalating to the point where somebody loses their life. And
exactly. I mean, I've seen it with that weird TikToker. While I was reacting to the video, like this dude really thinks he can go out here and be a tough guy, for being quote unquote harassed and commit a friggin' violent crime just because his feelings got hurt. Let me tell you something, bro. Nah, I don't think so. Like I said before, if he tries to go out and be a tough guy, he's gonna find himself either dead or in prison. Like, you know, these people, that is pretty much what they like doing. That they're attracted to that kind of stuff. They like being wild animals with no civil order. They like being wild animals. They like being lawless. They like having no rules. They like doing whatever they want whenever they want because you know that's what they think. That's how they operate. That's all they want is to be wild animals, act with no rules and no structure, nothing. You know, and they're enabled. This kind of garbage is enabled too, so it's even worse. Cause people enable this kind of stuff, man. And for some reason, it's bad to talk about this stuff. You know, it's really for some reason people seem to think it's bad to talk about this stuff. Look, when I have problems in my country and they are affecting the people in my country, I have every goddamn right to comment and criticize about this stuff. I could say whatever I want about these problems. I have every right. It's moral of me. I'm obligated to talk about this stuff and to talk to other people about this stuff because this is ridiculous. You know, I don't appreciate these folks doing that crap in our friggin' country. And excuse me, and I will absolutely criticize it. And I will insult the people who support that garbage because to me they're nothing more than just they're nothing more than demons. And they need to be shamed for it. You know? I mean, and even if they're not demons in human form, they're evil pieces of garbage. One way or another. Or either way. They're disgusting individuals that have no shame, they have no morals, no standards, they don't stand for anything. They only seek to destroy. Just because they're that miserable. And also because they want control, they want power, they want everything. You know, and it's disgusting. It really is. It's horrible. It's despicable. It's shameful. And because of it, our country's a laughingstock. And it needs to stop. You know, Australia, Germany, the United Kingdom, a lot of other countries are going through the exact same things that we are. Mind you, this is a whole widespread thing. And it needs to stop. You know, people need to come together and get rid. And we need to come together and get rid of this goddamn garbage permanently. I'm not saying we should do anything violent, because violence is usually a last resort when all other options are exhausted. But something needs to be done about it, even if it's just, you know, informing as many people as possible about this stuff. It's disgusting, you know, and people should know about this. They should know that what what is being done here, the behaviors you see here are not okay. They're abnormal. Far from normal. They're abnormal. It's like either mental illness or just straight up pure evil at this point. In my mind's, I don't even know where to begin. Like, I don't even know where to point my finger to. You know, it's just ridiculous.
And in fact, this is so common and so well known and has been so well known in the black community that Aaron McGruber actually made a Boondocks episode. Of course, this is the one where Granddad fights Stink Meter, the blind guy, and yeah, he refers to these as N-word moments, and again, I'm not going to call it that, but that is the entire premise of that episode, and no person at all, when that episode came out, decided to look at Aaron McGruber and say, hey, you're making something up. This never happens among black youths in the United States of America. What are you even talking about? Turns out, yes, it's very common. We all understand this. And until you go within the culture and actually get rid of this behavior that, again, has been so prevalent, it can be traced back as early as and even further back, obviously, because you're making commentary in the Boondocks about something that exists in black communities as a over 15-year-old animated sitcom, then yeah, we all understand exactly what went down. And yes, that is ingrained in the culture of black communities in the United States of America. And that is what happened. And that's what cost Austin Metcalf his life. So again, I hope his family takes some solace in this justice. Karmelo Anthony, you are disgusting. You should go away for as long as possible. But your supporters are even more disgusting, especially the ones that know you're guilty but support you anyway. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know.
Nah, you know what? They deserve far worse than that. They deserve to be forced to go in a jimpy plant bush. They deserve it. All over their goddamn body. They deserve far worse. Because this is ridiculous. You know, no. This nigga culture needs to go. It needs to be rendered extinct. Seriously. We don't want this shit here. We don't want it in any part of this country. We don't like it. We don't want it. It needs to go away. Because it's just not how you act. It's completely improper and uncivil. Like, uncivilized. Seriously, man. What do you get out of a culture like that? It's like no different from, that's like almost on board with Iran, with Iran and Islam. You know, come on, man. When is this stuff gonna stop, dude? It's like these people have no goddamn conscience. Well, that was the video. Shout out to Actual Justice Warrior for preaching the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, because this stuff needs to be more talked about. Um, and it's sad that it's really sad that we have to it's sad that we have to talk about this stuff. Well, it's not sad because it's important to talk about this stuff, but it's sad that this is what things have come to. Where these folks can freely do whatever the heck they want, basically because, people make no effort to call them out on it, and it takes us to do it. And when we do, we get all kinds of threats and all that stuff. I don't let threats faze me. I don't. It's too bad that I live in a blue state where where the Second Amendment doesn't exist because Governor Lamont and the rest of the bitch made Democrats in the state said so. You know, but hey, it is what it is, I guess. You know, but I have a little strategy to try and undermine that. Nothing illegal. Exercising a right I should have exercised a long time ago, or at least recent. I should have exercised sooner. You know, so this whole situation is just crappy. I don't have any sympathy for Karmelo Anthony at all. Like I said, I hope he drops the soap and gets sentenced to life in prison. Well, actually, the latter, before the former. Because he took the life of an innocent boy. He took the life of an innocent teen, and he had no remorse, and people tried to make excuses, and that's not acceptable. Whether he's a minor or not, he knew exactly what he was doing, and he should be thrown in prison. He really should be. That's exactly what he deserves. If he didn't do what he did, which was commit a violent crime, aka murder, then we wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't even be having this conversation, but here we are. Because nigga culture is back at it again. It's always here, but it's gotten even worse over the years. Seriously, this nigga shit has to stop. People get tired of this stuff, man. Nobody wants to live with all that chaos, especially around all that chaos. People want peace and quiet. They don't want to have to worry about this. And they don't deserve this shit happening. And the fact that people are trying to that certain individuals, they know who they are trying to make this into some sort of racial issue, some sort of, oh, this is only happening because the guy is black. The fact that they're trying to make that to be the issue, or the whole reason why what's happening is ridiculous. And again, it's disingenuous. Because they know exactly why he was convicted of murder. They know exactly they know exactly why he's been found guilty of murder. They know exactly why. They're just pretending to not know why. And some of them are even just, probably a lot of them are just like outright saying that, hey, we know this guy we know this guy killed an innocent man, aka he committed murder, but we're still going to back him anyway because we refuse to believe that he's guilty of a crime that he was proven to have committed. And white people deserve to die anyway because they're idiots, because they're white. Okay? Now listen to what I'm saying or you'll be next. Those people are so friggin' embarrassing. They are clowns, man. They are clowns. They fit every stereotype you can imagine. violent behavior, having kids when they know doggone well they shouldn't be, having multiple kids by different men. They fit so many goddamn stereotypes. And also being violent, if I haven't already said that. They fit so many goddamn stereotypes, man. So many stereotypes in one package. Like, dang, man. Like, really. It's so crazy. And we have a Black History Month. Yeah, that needs to go away. Just call it History Month. Like, just call it History Month, man. We don't need a history. We don't need a month dedicated to one specific race of human beings. That shouldn't even be a thing. Just call it History Month and leave it at that. Or even call it Leader Month, something like that. Something similar. History, or just call it History Month, whatever. Black History Month is just stupid. It's like friggin' Pride Month. Before Pride Month was Pride Month. Like, what the heck? I'm still confused on why Pride Month is somehow a thing. Like, who the heck cares what a person's sexuality is? Like, why do we need to have a whole month dedicated to that? Like, I don't want to know about someone's sexuality unless I ask them. Or if I assume, that what the point is, I don't want to know about someone's sexuality without asking. If I'm not asking you, why do you feel the need to tell me anyway? Like, I don't go around the whole neighborhood telling people that I'm heterosexual, aka straight. I don't go around the neighborhood doing all that. Cause why does anybody need to know that? You know, I don't get why Pride Month exists, because one thing I've always been told is that pride is the devil, and I absolutely believe that. I have nothing against homosexuality, but having a whole month called Pride Month, I'm sorry, bro, but I don't really care about your sexuality. I don't care about any of that shit you trying to force down my throat, bro. I'm not gay, man. I don't want to be. Okay? The way I see it, that shouldn't even be a month. Like, that whole month, Pride Month just needs to be gotten rid of. You know, because on June, come on, man. That's like where summer starts. That's where summer starts. That's when summer starts, bro. We don't need we don't need a month dedicated to sexuality, bro. That's just stupid. But alas, I don't think it'll ever go away. Well, like I said before, that was the video, guys. If you liked Actual Justice Warriors video, uh, like the video, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on all notifications, and leave a comment. Look at this. I'm so glad Imaginary Oppression didn't win today. Thumbs up for these two comments, because actually, you know what? Thumbs up for these three comments, bro, because these are some real comments, man. And if you like my reaction to the video, then subscribe, leave a comment, ring the bell, you know what to do. That's if you want to, though. I'm not forcing you or guilting you into doing it. I just do this stuff on the side, man. But yeah, that's the video. But I want to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think about this whole situation? Just keep things civil, people. Just keep things civil. And please don't say anything stupid. Don't do anything. Don't say anything stupid. Because I have to. It's bad enough I have to see enough stupid people on the internet. I don't need it more in my comments. Well, guys, Colby Lawson is out.